What is up, guys? Tired here, and welcome back to another character explained video featuring the train suplexing monk from Final Fantasy VI, Sabin. Apologies if this video is late, but it's better late than never. So before anything else, I would like to give a quick shout out to the creators of DissidiaDB.com website, as most of the information that I will share with you guys was taken from that site, and as well as the infographic created by the Thornberry Troop from Reddit. So without further ado, let's go check out Sabin's kit. So as you can see, Sabin is a magic attacker that can imperil enemies' resistance to wind and holy element. He uses claws as his weapon, and he throws Kamehame waves to enemies. So let's dive right into his skills to further understand his kit. His first skill, the Aura Cannon, is a 2-hit magic brave plus HP attack that deals greater damage to ghost type enemies. Equipping his Aura Cannon Extend passive increases the skill's brave hits to 4 and tremendously raises its total brave potency. It gains an overflow of up to 120% of max brave and deals 50% HP damage to non-targeted enemies. Aura Cannon also inflicts the Wind and Holy Resistance down debuff to all enemies for 4 turns. It grants Sabin 1 stack of his unique buff, Powers Unleashed, for 8 turns. This buff raises Sabin's max brave and attack. When Powers Unleashed is active, his Brave attack turns into Brave Attack Plus, which becomes a magic brave attack that hits 2 times. It has a greater total brave potency, and it increases the existing stack of power unleashed by 1. The brave damage dealt to ghost type enemies are raised as well. When this buff is at stack 3 or higher, the Aura Cannon turns into Aura Cannon Plus, which ignores enemies' defense and raises the overflow from 120% to 180% of his max brave. It also converts 50% of HP damage dealt to brave. Using Aura Cannon Plus does not grant Powers Unleashed stacks, instead it reduces the current stacks by 2 after use. Giving him his 15 CP weapon passive basically raises the brave potency of the skill and lowers its action delay. Razor Gale, his second skill, is a AoE wind magic brave attack that also deals greater damage to ghost type enemies. His Razor Gale Extend passive increases the number of brave hits to 4 and raises the skill's total brave potency. The skill now deals greater brave damage when used against single target enemies. It gains a brave overflow of up to 150% of his max brave, and it also inflicts the Wind and Holy Resistance down buff to all enemies for 4 turns. It improves the max brave up buff that Sabin receives and extends its duration by 4 turns. It also grants 1 stack of the Powers Unleashed buff. An AoE HP attack is triggered after using the skill, and the HP damage dealt is split among all enemies. When Powers Unleashed is at 3 stacks or higher, Razor Gale turns into Razor Gale Plus, which also ignores defense and improves the brave overflow from 150% to 200%. It also delays the targets by 1 turn, and same as with Aura Cannon Plus, it does not grant the Powers Unleashed stack, but it instead reduces its stack by 2 after use. Equipping his 35 CP weapon passive raises the skill's Brave potency and provides the max Brave buff that is improved by the Extend passive. Venom Claw, his EX weapon, gives him the ability to use Phantom Rush. This is a 4-hit Wind and Holy Magic Brave plus HP attack that is executed twice. It inflicts the Wind and Holy Imperial debuff after the first HP attack and grants 1 stack of Power Unleashed and Inherited Techniques buff for 8 turns. When Powers Unleashed is at 3 stacks or higher, his Phantom Rush turns into Phantom Rush Plus, which ignores defense. Inherited Techniques, however, raises his attack and overflow limit and gives Sabin the Wind and Holy Enchant. Max limit breaking his EX weapon basically improves the Phantom Rush in way of Brave damage dealt and recast speed. However, at 3-3, Sabin's HP attack turns into HP attack plus, which is now a Wind and Holy Magic Brave plus HP attack and increases the Powers Unleashed buff stacks by 1. Realizing his EX weapon into Venom Claw plus drastically improves the stats provided by the weapon. At 0-3, Phantom Rush and Phantom Rush Plus now gains Overflow. At 1-3, Sabin now gains Inherited Techniques buff for 8 turns at the start of the quest. At 2-3, Sabin's Max Brave and attack is raised, and when Powers Unleashed is active, his HP attack plus turns into HP attack plus plus, which increases the Brave hits to 2 with a slight raise in total Brave potency and overflow of up to 120%. At max limit break, his Phantom Rush and Phantom Rush Plus now turns into a 5-hit Wind and Holy Magic Brave plus HP attack that is executed thrice. The skill's total Brave potency is also increased. Some notable passives. He has the Spirit of Competition passive that grants him 100% critical hit rate when his Brave is equal or exceeds his initial Brave and if the target's Brave is over twice of his own Brave. His level 50 crystal passive, Duncan's Teaching, slightly raises the Brave damage dealt of abilities with only 1 use left. His 54 passive raises his speed while buffed, while his 58 passive raises his max Brave and attack while buffed as well. His level 68 passive raises his max Brave and attack by 20%, which is actually huge. His AA ability, Set Battle Spirit Unleashed, grants him 2 stack of Powers Unleashed for 8 turns, while its extended passive grants an additional raise in his attack for 2 turns. Sabin is a viable magic DPS unit with the help of his Wind and Holy Imperial debuff. He becomes more potent once the elemental weakness changes comes. This change the game is huge, especially for those with Imperial debuffs and elemental attacks. Basically, when this change is implemented, as long as the enemies inflicted with Imperial, other resistance such as melee resist or magic resist will now be ignored, meaning elemental attackers will deal stronger damage on Imperial enemies even if there is a melee resist or magic resist. Like other DPS units, Sabin needs to be paired with strong supports as he would need his EX Plus to be at 3-3 to do well. The only downside that I can see with Sabin is that his stacks mechanics is kinda wonky. He cannot use the plus version of his skills consistently. Once a plus version is used, he can either use his HP attack or base version of his skill to restack the Powers Unleashed buff. Keep in mind that while his HP attack plus restacks the buff, it does not refresh it. The recommended artifacts for him is 3 attack plus 108 and 3 max brave plus 330. Buff attack 2 stars can also replace max brave plus 330. So yeah, there you have it guys, my quick explanation of Sabin. I hope you guys were able to learn something about him from this video, and if so, please leave a like and comment down below. Or maybe even subscribe, as I do plan on continuing this series as well. So, you know, did you guys build Sabin, and are you enjoying using him? As I know he is somewhat a fan favorite. So yeah, let me know down below, and as always, good luck with your games, and I will see you on the next video.